In the annals of forgotten time, there was once a war not written in the stars, but in blood upon the earth. Two empires rose, like predators circling the same kill. Rome, the iron wolf of the West, forged in fire and discipline. Carthage, the dark leviathan of the seas, born of merchants and mercenaries, its coffers deeper than the ocean, its ambition blacker than the void. Between them there could be no peace, and so began a struggle that would scar centuries, the First Punic War. The seeds of war, the land of Sicily was no mere island. It was a crucible of power, a jewel set in the center of the Mediterranean. Whoever held Sicily would hold the throat of trade, the lifeblood of empires. Carthage had long ruled there, its ports like spiders' nests, its fleets swarming the waters. But Rome, newborn, restless, and hungry, had expanded across the Italian peninsula like a tide of iron. When Rome's gaze fell upon Sicily, the gods themselves must have shuddered. It began with a city, Messana. A band of mercenaries known as the Mamertines seized it. Beset by Carthage, they called upon Rome for aid, and Rome, always eager to expand its shadow, answered. The wolf had crossed into the lion's den. The Titans awakened Carthage, mistress of the sea. Her people, Phoenician in origin, worshippers of cruel gods, builders of ships as numerous as the stars. She bought soldiers as one buys bread. Libyans, Gauls, Numidians, Iberians. Her empire was a beast stitched together with coin and fear. Rome, in contrast, was a machine of flesh and oath. Its soldiers were not mercenaries, but citizens, bound by loyalty, chained by duty. Each legionnaire was both brick and mortar of the Republic's fortress. Where Carthage bought men, Rome bred them. These two ways of war, coin and blood, were destined to clash. The war begins in 264 BC. The Romans landed in Sicily. The war machine creaked into motion. At first, Rome was no power at sea. Their legions were unmatched on land, but the waters belonged to Carthage. And yet, Rome was never content with weakness. They captured a Carthaginian ship, tore it apart, studied its every bone and sinew. From this corpse, they built a fleet of their own, 100 strong. But Rome added something monstrous, something that turned the sea into land. The Corvus, the boarding bridge. With this iron beak, Roman legions could storm enemy decks and drag Carthage's sea creatures into bloody melee. Thus the seas, once Carthage's dominion, became killing grounds. The first battles, the early wars, were brutal contests of will. Rome seized Agrigentum in 262 BC, shattering Carthaginian influence on Sicily's soil. Carthage retaliated, their generals Hanno, Hamilcar Barca summoning mercenary hosts. At sea, in 260 BC at Mylae, the Roman consul Gaius Duilius led his new fleet into battle. The Corvus slammed down upon Carthaginian decks like the claws of a titan. Ships became slaughterhouses, waves stained red. Rome had learned the sea, and Carthage had bled. Duilius returned to Rome in triumph, the first to celebrate a naval victory in Roman history. Statues were raised, columns adorned with the beaks of captured ships. Rome had shown the world she would not be bound by land alone, the blood price of innovation. But Rome's new mastery came at a cost. The Corvus, heavy and unwieldy, toppled ships in storms. Fleets sank not by enemy hand, but by the sea's wrath. In 255 BC, at the Battle of Cape Hermaeum, Rome achieved glory, landing legions upon Africa itself. They struck at Carthage's heart. It was here that one man rose to grim renown, Marcus Atilius Regulus. Regulus, the doomed hero. Regulus, consul of Rome, was a man carved of granite, his pride taller than mountains. He led Rome's armies deep into Carthaginian soil. Villages burned, mercenaries fled before him. Rome's banners, crimson and gold, waved against Carthage's very walls. But Carthage was not without champions. From the shadows came Xanthippus, a Spartan mercenary general. Carthage, in its desperation, bought his genius with gold, and Xanthippus taught them discipline. He forged Carthage's forces into a spear. At the Battle of Tunis, Regulus was crushed, his legions trampled by elephants, his army drowned in blood. Captured, Regulus was dragged into Carthage itself, a broken relic of Rome. Legends whisper that he was tortured, his eyelids cut away so he might face the sun until madness claimed him. Whether truth or myth, his fate became a warning. Rome's pride could be shattered, but never destroyed. The endless grind. The war dragged on. Year after year, Rome and Carthage bled into the dust of Sicily. Towns were besieged, farms burned, civilians starved, mercenaries rioted when Carthage's coin ran thin. Rome lost fleets by the hundreds, storms swallowing men whole. Yet each time, like a beast with infinite heads, Rome rebuilt. Hamilcar Barca, father of the future Hannibal, rose as Carthage's savior. Cunning, tireless, he waged a war of shadows. From mountain fortresses he struck, ambushing Romans, retreating before their might. He was never defeated, but he could not win either. His name would become legend, a seed that would later bloom into vengeance. The final blow. After 2 decades, both empires were exhausted, but Rome's endurance was unholy. In 241 BC, at the Battle of the Aegates Islands, Rome struck with a rebuilt fleet. Stripped bare to save weight, their crews drilled to perfection. The Carthaginian fleet, laden with supplies, was no match. One by one, their ships fell, shattered by ramming prows, stormed by legionnaires. Carthage's power broke upon the waves. Bankrupt, defeated, Carthage begged for peace. Ashes of victory. Rome demanded Sicily. Rome demanded tribute. Rome demanded obedience. Carthage, the sea queen, was reduced, shackled, humiliated. But the gods are cruel, for though Rome triumphed, though her legions marched home in victory, seeds of darker wars had already been sown. In the ashes of Carthage's defeat, Hamilcar Barca swore vengeance. His son, Hannibal, would inherit that oath. The First Punic War was no end, it was a beginning, the beginning of centuries drenched in blood, of empires locked in endless slaughter.